So here I am running as hard as I can as I watch the deer go down the river.
It's floating away.
And I went off a 25-foot cliff, kind of like a drop-off into a washout.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
Criminal charges, bro. It's like we're avoiding the shark.
Yo, great turboneck guy.
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. This is episode number 5. Seeing that it's Veterans Day, I thought this conversation with my Uncle Al would be a fitting episode to release. So let's dive in. Okay, so right now I've got my Uncle Al on the podcast, and he's just going to be telling me some interesting stories about the military and the Coast Guard, training dogs, and all kinds of stuff. So, Uncle Al, how old are you?
I'm 63 years old. You know, I joined the Air Force in 1977. Matter of fact, I specifically remember the day, August 21st, 1977, because that's when the king died, Elvis.
Really? The same day?
Yeah, the same day I joined the Air Force.
Wow.
When I went on active duty.
Oh, wow. Was everybody talking about it?
Well, you know, it's funny because we were in an environment where you didn't get outside news, and it had to be something pretty big for you to really hear something. And,
Yeah.
you know, because you'd hear the training instructors talk about something going on, and then they would share it with you. Or otherwise, you wouldn't know what was going on in the civilian world at that time.
Which part of the military did you join first?
I joined the Air Force first. And I served until I believe it was August of 86 in the Air Force.
And you said one of your best stories in the Air Force happened in the Philippines?
Yeah, I was a dog handler assigned to Clark Air Base, and I had a patrol dog. His name was Tiger. He was a really exceptionally large German Shepherd. He was 105 pounds. His brand was S444. I don't know if you know, military dogs are all branded in their left ear. And
oh, wow. Do they breed them like on base, or do they get them from somewhere?
No, they actually recruit dogs just like they recruit people.
Do they have a draft where they take your dog away in the middle of the night?
No.
No.
I actually had the opportunity to be, when I was stationed at Kirtland Air Force Base, I got the opportunity to recruit dogs and evaluate dogs for the Air Force. That was kind of neat.
That sounds great.
But when I got stationed at Clark Air Base in the Philippines, it was an 18-month tour. And, you know, as a dog handler, you're always taught to, trust your dog. A good dog handler will believe in his dog, you know. And I learned my lesson. That was probably my second year as a dog handler. And so it was kind of early on. And I was out on patrol on the end of the Clark Air Base runway. My dog alerted on what we at the time we called them intruders, and the intruder was stealing runway lights.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
You know, when you see at an airport, there's blue lights, red lights, green lights,
Yeah.
and they're all along the runway. And he was literally stealing those lights.
Who's he?
The intruder, a Filipino person. And I was, like I said, I was on patrol, and my dog alerted on this individual, and then we started a chase.
Why would they steal the runway lights? What do they need those for? Sell them?
They sell them, and they have taxis, but they call them jeepneys. And I guess it's some sort of pride to decorate the jeepneys as best they can. And some have really weird lights on them. And I don't know what they do with these runway lights, if they put them on those jeepneys or whatever, you know. So anyhow, what was interesting is I started chasing after this guy, and we were in 12-foot elephant grass. It's real tall grass, and there's almost like these little tunnels that go through the grass. The Filipinos would run through those, and they're pretty short, so they go through them pretty easy. And so you're kind of bent over, and the dog's at full leash chasing after him. And all of a sudden, my dog stopped. I mean, just stopped dead in his tracks, you know. And I was kind of like excited because, you
thought he caught him, maybe?
Well, no, I was actually mad at him because he stopped. I was like, why don't you stop chasing? You're in the excitement. It's kind of an honor to, if you catch an intruder on base, you're kind of like a mini hero, that you get to brag about. Hey, you caught somebody, So I'm kind of trying to like, come on, go, and so I take off in front of my dog, which is a big no-no. I mean,
you got to trust your dog, Uncle Al.
Exactly, and I didn't. And I went off a 25-foot cliff, kind of like a drop-off into a washout.
What's a washout?
It's like water drainage. It's where the water goes down. It's like an aurora but it's all natural. It's where the water runs and washes out the sand and dirt, and some are really deep. So like I said, I fell 25 feet into water and mucky sand. And,
man.
And I remember looking up and my dog looking down at me like, you idiot. That's when I really learned that, you trust in your dog.
So you got to walk back home muddied and with your tail between your legs.
Yes, exactly.
Did anybody know about it, or did you kind of keep that a secret?
No, I shared the story because it was kind of funny afterwards. And of course, you got to explain why you're soaking wet. And so, I shared it and also used it as a training lesson with my peers. There's a good reason why you trust in your dog. I could have got really hurt, so it was kind of neat.
Yeah. And tell me about training dogs. How was that process?
Well, as a dog handler, everybody goes to the Medina Annex off of Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. That's where the dog handling school is.
How do you train a dog to search for a bomb?
You initially start out as a patrol dog handler, and then after being a patrol dog handler, you usually get signed to a permanent base somewhere in the world, if anything. I went to drug dog school, and then I also went to training NCO school for training dogs and training handlers.
What's like a day in the life of training a dog for the bomb sniffing?
You have different things to use as training aids like C4, det cord, nitro, and there's a lot of natural fertilizers that are sold like at Home Depot that have nitro in it. You're basically associating the scent of, let's say, the C4 with the reward. They're actually, in the long run, the dog's not really looking for the bomb. They're actually looking for the reward, which is, in most cases, is a ball. You find a dog that really likes to chase a ball, then they're easier to teach to find any substance, whether it's a bomb or money, or you pick something and you can train them to find that. So anyhow, you associate that smell with the reward of the ball, and you present it to them. And sometimes it takes 10 or 15 trials, and sometimes it takes 20 or 30 trials to get them to recognize what they're supposed to be doing.
Did you ever have a dog that just washed out of school?
So first, most dogs have to go through patrol dog school. And you first initially train them how to heel, sit, stay, basic dog obedience. Then you start getting into attack dog training, the command of get them, and out means cease the attack.
And they listen to that?
They listen to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to go from being super aggressive to just stopping.
Yeah. To them, it's a game. They're looking for the first thing that moves that they can get their mouth on. And, that's what it's about. And it's about them having fun. It's funny in that sense, but...
Because it's super serious for us, but for them, they're just having a good time.
Right.
They want the ball. They want the treat.
Yes.
Right?
And when you mentioned the thing about being washed out, once they receive 1 week of attack training, pretty much, if they don't get certified, then... they actually put them to sleep.
Betrayal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That got morbid really quick.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It's a bummer.
We had this one dog, you talk about dogs being aggressive and stuff. And I don't know why, but there was one dog, it wasn't my dog. I mean, he hated Jeeps. If the dog handler wasn't paying attention and we were standing around and a Jeep drove up or a Jeep was driving off, that dog would just bite onto the rear tire and just hold on to it. And he literally would go around the tire as it moved down the road.
Really?
So he had some pretty messed up teeth.
Now, where was the awesome story of chasing a fugitive through people's lawns?
Oh, that's towards the end of my Air Force career. I was stationed at Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was the training NCO, basically a training non-commissioned officer. My job was to make sure the dogs of that kennels stayed proficient, and also the dog handlers would stay proficient. At Kirtland Air Force Base, they have on-base housing and they have off-base housing. There was an individual from Albuquerque that was breaking in houses. He would just open their front door and walk in. And at that time, VCRs were pretty popular. And he would just walk in and grab the VCR off the top of the TV console and just grab it and run. And he would literally steal it while people are watching their own TV programs or movies or whatever.
Just run in and grab it and run out?
Yeah, exactly. But these people would be so astonished that somebody just walked into our house that they're caught off guard and they didn't know what to do. But, this guy just had a thing.
VCR addiction.
Back then, most VCRs were sitting right on top of the TV. So it was an easy grab and run.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's so random. And this is the normal civilian that would get onto the base, or was it one of your own?
No, it was a civilian bad guy.
How do they get onto the base, though? Isn't it pretty tightly secure?
Well, the one, especially the off-base housing area, was just like a regular neighborhood that there was a fence around it, but there was no manned guards because there was no military resources there.
Yeah.
It was just a housing area that was fenced off.
Okay, so how long has this guy been on the loose? Like, did you know about this guy? Did you have wanted posters of this guy, the VCR thief?
Well, what happened was it got to be pretty regular. I'd have to say he was having pretty good success with it, so he kept it up. And the base commander told the law enforcement squadron, we got to stop this. So I was put in charge of a group of like 5 or 6 dog handlers, and we were assigned, and that was our job for like 2 or 3 weeks until we caught the guy. And fortunately, we caught the guy in about 3 weeks.
That's a lot of VCRs.
Yeah.
And before you tell how you caught him, did you find a whole treasure trove of VCRs?
Actually, we didn't.
You never did?
Never did.
That just makes me laugh thinking about you open this like vault and there's all these VCRs.
Yeah, that would be wild.
Okay, but how did you catch him?
We strategically placed dog handlers, let's say around, 50 houses. And then I was the supervisor. And I was in a vehicle, so the other dog handlers were on foot walking around the housing area. And then I just sat center of it. And we did this for probably about 3 weeks, I think it was, and then got a call that somebody just stole this VCR from a homeowner, and we were right there. So we basically interceded him. He didn't stop. He kept running, and I, of course, was in my vehicle, and I went off the road and into the backyards, and I didn't realize it, but I was going through a bunch of clotheslines, and they were all strung up on my lights.
You're waking up everybody.
Oh, yeah. And he actually ran inside different people's homes to get away from us, in the front door, out the back door, in the back door, out the front door.
So did you chase him through the houses too?
I personally didn't, but other dog handler did. And then I was in the back because I had a vehicle, and I saw him come out, and I got out, and I chased him and I cornered him in the backyard fence. He did have a gun on him, and he went for the gun, and fortunately enough, he was smart enough and dropped it. So because
he grabbed it and then dropped it?
Yeah, because I released my dog on him, and he got scared right away and dropped the gun. Just that simple.
That's awesome. I love that. So getting out of the military, you started working for a propane company. Tell me about that, and tell me about the truck stuck.
Oh, I've been delivering propane for about 15 years now. I deliver propane in the area of Pagosa Springs. We call it Pagosa Country.
Colorado.
In Colorado, yeah. Of course, you have to deliver it in the wintertime because that's when you need most of the heat. But I remember this one time, I thought it was safe to go up and deliver, and I'd be done and come down with no problem. Very, very steep hill. I mean, really steep hill and some pretty good turns. So I went up, and I was chained up, and I was making my deliveries. I had probably about 10 deliveries to do up on this ridge. Then it started really snowing, and I said, I'll get it done before it really becomes a problem. But boy, was I wrong. It went from no snow on the roads to 1.5 feet of snow. So I got done, which was probably a really bad decision. And by this time it was dark out, and I started down the mountain, and I got to a point where I couldn't steer the truck. It just kept sliding. It wouldn't go, you try to turn, it just kept going straight. So I stopped, and then it was such a steep incline that the truck wouldn't stop. So I could back up. And so I probably for an hour and a half would back the truck up and then drive it down and then back it up and drive it down. That's the only way I could keep it under control. I couldn't stop it.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Well, there was a section on the road that was probably 100 feet that was really straight. I can back up that 100 feet. I can drive down that 100 feet. But after that 100 feet, there was a sharp turn and I couldn't make the turn.
Oh, wow.
And same thing with going up. When I was backing up, there was a sharp turn and I couldn't go past that
So
point.
you were stuck in between?
Yeah, so I was stuck in between these two turns. I could still drive the truck, but every time I stopped, it would kept sliding down the hill. But
That sounds insanely scary.
And when I got to the point where I had to turn, then I was like, okay, I got to back up. So then I would put it in reverse and then back up. I'd kind of stop, but if I sat there for any period of time, it would just start sliding on its own. I don't know why, but I let myself panic. I got scared. And I started crying. I called for help because I was waiting for the tow truck to come. And
You had cell service?
fortunately, there was one spot I did have cell service. And I would back up to that point and I'd call, and it was just a mess.
It sounds like a disaster movie.
Yeah.
Like survival.
It was like you're under control, but you're not. I had this 100 foot of life that I was in control of. A foot above it and a foot below it. It was over
The whole thing would have crashed.
Yeah, there was
Wow.
up top. It wasn't as bad because I think there was about a 50-foot drop. But down towards the bottom was a 110-foot drop. And it was all into rock ledge. It was not like, a bunch of ponderosa pines and have a soft landing. So it got pretty scary for a while. And then when I saw that tow truck, it was a 16-wheel drive tow truck. And talk about heroes. Those two guys that were in that truck, they came up, they hooked up to me, and they had all 16 wheels, and all 16 wheels had chains on it to control it. And it took us an hour and a half before they got to me. And then it took us another hour to get down. And it was pretty scary.
So I bet you're a lot better at gauging the weather now.
Yes.
Than you were.
You quickly learn that if you think about it, if you go, I wonder if I should go up there, as soon as you think, that's my decision, I'm not going.
Okay, now tell me about hunting in Virginia.
It's kind of funny. I was just sharing this with my son, Creed. As a hunter, you're excited. You get your license. You pay a lot of money sometimes for your license, and you go hunting, and, it's a fun thing, and you try to do everything right. And I don't even know to this day whether I did it right or wrong. I'm thinking back on it. I know for sure it wasn't the right thing to do, but it was kind of fun and neat.
I like this preface.
It was like the last day of the hunt season. And, you get desperate because you go out there and you spend all this time and you're excited, and then you don't see nothing. It's like bummer. And but this last day I saw a deer, but I saw it in a really weird place. I didn't even think twice about it because I was so excited. But the deer was swimming in the river. Okay, no big deal, but I was up on a ridge and I was probably 100 yards shot. But if he got to the side of the river, I couldn't see him because the way, the angle of where I was up high, and by the time he got, or she, was a doe, but by the time the doe got to the shoreline, then I couldn't see her. So I was thinking about all this stuff and didn't even think twice about what would happen after I shoot a deer in a river. And I had a good shot and I took it. So I shot this deer in the river and pretty sure she was dead. And seconds after that, it dawned on me. I mean, it's cold. We're talking, I think it was in late October or early November. And so I'm like, I can't go out in the river. It's freezing water. It's cold. And I said, how am I going to get the deer? I didn't have no boat. So here I am running as hard as I can as I watch the deer go down the river, and I'm trying.
It's floating away.
Yeah, it's floating away, and I'm running along the shore doing everything I can to keep up with it. I know I ran quite a bit down the side of the ridge, and then when I got on the shoreline, I probably ran another 60 yards, and at one point, the deer got hung up on something in the river. It allowed me to get ahead of it. And I'm just thinking, what am I going to do? Because the last thing I wanted to do was get in this river. It's freezing cold. And then all of a sudden, it just right before me, there was this tree that was like halfway across the river, sticking in the river. And I crawled out on it. I actually hooked the deer with the sling of my rifle, cut it around its head, and I held on to it. now I had the deer, but how am I going to get it out of the water?
And you're on the tree.
How am I going to get off this tree and not, end up in the water? Well,
it's a really funny mental picture.
Yeah, it was not a good thing. And
was anyone with you?
no, I was by myself,
Okay.
But fortunately, I hooked the deer with the rifle, and then I scooted down the tree a little bit, and then pulled it and scooted it and pulled it, and actually ended up falling in the water. And then
Was it freezing?
It was very, very, very cold.
But you got it.
I got it.
Yeah. Way to think on the fly, Uncle Al. So this is the part of the episode where I tell you to subscribe, rate, review, follow, etc., etc. But you've been to the dentist before, so you know the drill. But right now, I want to let you know that the next episode will be Uncle Al's son, Creed Wiley. That episode has some of the gnarliest stories yet, so you don't want to miss it. Life and death situations, as well as his journey of faith. So stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
Inserting exclusive audio recording from the vault.
Running, building, and then all of a sudden he's bringing her in or something, and she's hurt. What in the world?
Rewind it. I didn't quite see what happened.
I don't know. Who did he bring in? Is that her?
Who is that?
I don't know.
Did he just... Wait, what?
She's just running in the building, and then he's
Saving somebody. Who is it?
saving somebody. Looks like her with her hair there, like that.
Is that her? It can't be her.
Jumped out. Well, what was he? What?
Wait,
It's not her. Sure looked like her, but who did he save?
I don't know.
What's that?
It's really distracting.
I thought she shot him. Oh, brother.
And that's it.